Good to see you, Paul. Thanks for coming. Happy New Year. You look at Sir Jackie Stewart and you sort of think, yeah, I'd love to be like that.
Yeah, he's a bit of a legend, isn't he? The respect he's got for what he's done for the sport. I think anybody that's read his book, Winning's Not Enough, if you've not read that, you won't fully understand what his commitment to Formula One was, and even motorsport, to get it to the highlight it is now, the safety it is now, and driving. And just understanding who your friends are and who your competitors are, because he was in an era of Formula One that was obviously, a lot of people were losing their lives, and for him still to stand here, I think he's a very proud man, and I utmost respect for him. And being a fellow Scot myself, what he's achieved, hopefully I'll be in those memories with him one day looking back.
It's nice to hear sort of contemporary Grand Prix drivers looking back at the past and sort of caring about it, because you guys are under so much pressure, you're so busy, and you're so driven, no pun intended, that sometimes you forget what went on before.
Yeah, I think you do, and I think we as people forget what happened in the past more. We can't predict the future, but given where motorsport was and what it is to the automotive industry, and really, you've got to respect people coming up. People that, I was lucky enough, people that I got to respect growing up as a young driver, like Michael Schumacher. I had so much respect, and he was my hero and all the rest, and eventually I got to race against him. Now that I feel a bit different about Michael, because I'm quite glad he's retired and he's out of the way, because he's a bit of a pain in the ass in the track, but you still have to say he's the right person, and he's a 7 times world champion.
It's slightly surreal for you to race against a guy who was winning championships when you were still in karting.
Yeah, and even to the point where I wasn't karting, he was still racing against it. I can still remember the day, a highlight, well, not a highlight, but a memory that stuck with me. I can still tell you where I was when Senna died, and I can remember that race that actually Senna was chasing Schumacher at that point, and I still hadn't started karting. But I can tell you I was at a kart circuit that day, supporting, I think, my dad racing, and really, many years down the line, you're out there battling at the end of Grand Prix for points with him.
And here you are as a fully fledged, established Grand Prix driver. You've done 2 years. How do you look back on your second season? What sort of thoughts do you have about how you performed?
Ultimately, up until Singapore, I thought it was a great season. We scored a lot of points. We were getting into a crucial part of the season where we really had to take another gear, and we did that after the summer break, and had a good drive in Singapore. I think, 4th place. We were a bit robbed towards the end because we were battling with Fernando throughout the race, and we were doing a 2-stop strategy. He'd very quickly changed to a 3-stop, and I think had there not been a late safety car, we certainly would have been on the podium that day. And but even to the point, the last 10 laps, when you're pushing a Ferrari that is essentially leading the World Championship at that point in the year, it was great. But from there on, it seemed to tail off. Just things didn't go right. Nothing would gel. And the weekends just got more difficult and more difficult as it went on. And I think it obviously confirmed how our year went towards the end. In Brazil, obviously, hitting the wall and aquaplaning 3 laps before the end of the Grand Prix. And I was the one that got unlucky, whereas everybody else had the nervous moments.
What is it about you in Singapore? Because your best result of season 1 was in Singapore too, wasn't it?
Yeah, I don't know if it's it comes down to fitness or what it is, but I think the track suits our car. Certainly, street tracks, our car seems to have taken a ramp up, which is unusual because we were normally known to be very quick on a straight, low downforce tracks, whereas Singapore is absolutely get as much downforce on the car as you can. Mechanical grip is obviously shown to be okay. But I think it's one of those tracks, it requires concentration levels and requires precise confidence to get a lap. When you're doing 24 corners in a quali lap, if you can get a high % of those corners nailed, the other ones you just have to match what you've done previously.
And how is this year's car progressing? Have you seen it yet? Have you had a seat fitting?
Yeah, I done the seat fitting yesterday. Exactly the
same.
same.
Do you fit?
Exactly the same program I had last year. It is actually. It's actually a bit big, I must say. It's
is it
bigger than I thought? Essentially, the car, the big thing is designed around me. Each year you stay with a team. They do sign-offs throughout the year, and about June or July they sign the next year's car off, and I obviously got preference where the seating position was, and did a small seat fit in December just to get a bit of an idea. And yesterday, within 2 hours, my main seat was done, and hopefully that will be me until the end of the year. They will just, make me 2 or 3 seats, and that will be the year ahead.
And hopefully your teammate, who's yet to be chosen, will be just the wrong size for it altogether.
Certainly hoping so. Maybe it'll give me a bit more driving in February, but the car is looking well. I think on paper, you can see what they've tried to achieve. I think it's achieving what they want to do. We just need to ramp up the development, because last year we got stalled a bit towards the end of testing. We started very well, but people were bringing developments and we didn't do that. Whereas, I think the team of people that are at Force India will ramp that up, because we need to start the season higher if we want to, be competing with the likes of Lotus and Mercedes.
And of course, there's 2014 to think about with the wholesale changes to the engine. Force India has a Mercedes engine. They appear to be one step ahead of the competition with the new engine. Does that give you hope?
Well, the team doesn't have an engine deal at the moment for 2014. It runs out at the end of this year, but it's quite crucial times for Formula One. Manufacturers coming up with a new power unit with the turbo KERS, smaller engine, but essentially having the same power output, equally taking a third less fuel out the cars. At the moment they can't make the engines get to the end of the Grand Prix with the fuel required, but that's what pushes people in Formula One. That is why there's so many experts in this, designing this, and they always say, they can't do it, but they will achieve it. I think it's good. I think at the end of the day, we've had a stable rules up until now, but let's get into a new generation. Let's see some new people, shine, and certainly take the likes of Adrian Newey, give him some hard work, because he's obviously mastered this spec of Formula One car. He may do the same in another one, but it gives other people and younger people the chance to shine, and other people just new ideas kicking around.
Is the Force India engineering strength up to speed? Have you got the right people in the right places now?
I think it's building. We're getting some good people. The team of people that are surrounding me, I'm very happy with. Some new changes for next year. We've brought in some new people, not necessarily to strengthen departments, but bring in new departments that other teams have had the advantage of using. These people, I met them yesterday. They've got obviously plans in place, but that needs to slowly integrate to how we work. It can't just be a straight line thing. It needs to work with how Force India work, because at the end of the day, we've got good foundations, and you can't just do a restart.
I was joking about your teammate, but is it a distraction to you that you haven't been told who your teammate is yet? Would it give you a chance to start thinking about his strengths or weaknesses ahead of the start, if you knew who it was?
I suppose it would. I mean, ultimately, I don't think it's a great position to be in, to be, nearly the middle of January and not know who it is. But the team have said they will announce it in good time whenever they're ready to do so. I have to respect that. I'm hired to do the job I'm doing. I'm focused on doing that. I'm working as hard as I can with the people that I'm, told to work with, and the people who matter in the team. Simulator schedules are coming out. We're starting to get into the real nitty gritty of the car and fully get up to speed. And it's not going to be too long in 3 weeks' time when we roll it out and get a shakedown and really see what the machine's about.
There is a lot of pressure, isn't there? There's so little testing now. It's sort of blind faith in many ways.
Yeah, and this year's been restricted even more. We've only got 12 days testing, so it's getting to the point now where you cannot afford to have an issue on the day 1 or day 2. Your car needs to roll out the garage, and it needs to be, it needs to last those days, because essentially you have the whole testing program that's already been set. You've chosen your tires, you've chosen what you want to do, and it's not enough time. That will then carry you into Melbourne, it will carry you into Malaysia, and then you get a bit lost. You're not maximising your performance on a Grand Prix weekend, but that's how it works. It's always the same. If you give somebody more time, they're going to come up with better ideas, but it's a high pressure to get them to make sure they make the right decisions.
One more from me before we throw it open to this knowledgeable audience. The McLaren drive, many people thought that you were a shoo-in for that, being a British driver with the Mercedes connection. Did you come close? Did you talk to them?
Yeah, I'm not going to go into too much details of it, but all I can say is, there was a lot of talk in the press. Yes, we were speaking, of course we were. I've got a lot of respect for McLaren. Martin Whitmarsh was a key person to get me into Formula One way back in when I first started with Force India, and for whatever reason their board took the decision to take Perez, but I respect that. At the end of the day they called me, but I hope our paths cross again. I hope that I'll either race a McLaren or I'll be in a car that's competitive and racing against the likes of McLaren and Martin, because in this world I want to be in a car that's at the top, and I just want to do the best job and keep my profile high enough that the team bosses are likely to take me in the future.
Yeah, you missed that boat, but there will be plenty more that come along, won't there, if you perform well.
There might be something better for all you know.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and of course you have a link with McLaren from the McLaren Autosport BRDC award that you won. So it's a close-knit industry, isn't it? And you should never say never.
Never say never. Never have any enemies. I think I've got a good relationship with the team bosses in the paddock. They've got respect, and it's always nice to say hello and keep your name in their mind, I suppose, and put your face in front of them without being too pesty and really demanding it.
Yeah, absolutely. Right. Let's have some questions. David is there with a mic. There's a chap right next to you there, David.
Yeah. Hi, Paul. If you could pick a teammate from last year's grid, who would it be?
Never actually thought about it. You never actually think about your teammates. I've always said, as long as the teammate's fast, has respect for me, and is a team player, that's all I can ask for. It's when you get somebody that's only got their own ambitions in mind, because nowadays in Formula 1, you need to work as a unit, and you see it gets a bit political, and that's how the sport is driven.
There's a chap just to your left, David, who I think is a McLaren fan.
If there was only one driver, living or dead, who you could race with in an identical car, who would it be?
Good.
I have to say, I think I'd quite like to race my cousin Dario Franchitti. I think all the way through, my dad's helped him in his career, he's helped me. Same age, same place. I'd like to be up against him, because I think it'd be a good family battle, and he's achieved a lot, and I've got a lot of respect for what he's done in America.
He's slightly scared by the prospect of an oval. You sort of think...
I wouldn't do an oval. No chance.
Right, that's that clear then.
He doesn't know how to turn right.
No, quite, yeah. Yes. You turn right if you're crashing, don't you? Yeah. Move along, Dave. Can you... do you have to inelegantly vault a barrier there?
Right, Paul. What advice would you give for young karters who have just started and thinking about moving higher up to Formula Renault and stuff like that?
Well, I think I find a big thing is you have to obviously have an element of success. You have to have the family network. You have to have the commitment, the backing. Because they are in the emotions of it. And I was fortunate. I grew up in a motorsport family. My dad put everything into it. And, had he not been doing that, we wouldn't have done it, because we didn't have the budgets to go with the big teams and let other people do it. And, let your goals go. I can't drive you there, but keep plugging away. Don't let your dreams go, because some people get to reach it. I was fortunate enough to do it, but there's people that are fortunate not to do it. And when you achieve what you want to do, it's a very special feeling, and it's a great job, and I wouldn't swap it for anything.
Okay, got time for a couple more.
Do you think your car will be enough to get a podium in 2013?
I didn't hear that, did you?
Yeah.
Did you?
Yeah, I think it's about a podium
F1
in 2013.
drivers hearing.
I don't know how, because my ears are knackered.
What?
But, yeah, I think we can. We nearly achieved it in Singapore, and that is the thing in the cards for this year. VJ, who's our team principal, and certainly the team are focused on achieving that. Our competitors, Williams, Sauber, they achieved it this year. We nearly done it. But I think the main focus on should be consistency. When we do get the chance to get a podium, understand why and repeat it the next week's the main thing. Because having a fluke result would shine, but equally, I think it would be down in the next week if you didn't come close to achieving that again.
Okay, any more? Well, there's a couple that... Oh, there we are.
Hi, Paul. You hear drivers saying that when they're performing at the home Grand Prix, it makes a difference. I always wonder how it does. You're helmeted up, you're in the Monaco chassis. Can you actually get some speed back from the crowd, from the input of the crowd, when you're at the home circuits?
In qualifying in 2011 at Silverstone, you were just mega.
Yeah, I think the buzz about the whole British Grand Prix for me is something else, but take me out the equation. I think any driver you ask that's not British, they'll say the British Grand Prix, the crowd is the best, they're the most committed. We get the biggest crowd on a Friday, we get the biggest crowd on a Thursday, and it's record-breaking each year. You know, what people put up with this year, weather-wise, still to turn out, it was great not to see a lot of action, but when I think you go out on out laps in the morning to do installs, you will have a sneaky peek, you'll have a look, see what's about, and the grandstands are full. And the campsites are full. Everywhere is, that busy, and that's why it's a disaster when it does rain, because there's too many people there. But I hope it keeps continuing. We've got the British Grand Prix secured for a lot of years. I hope to be part of it for that many years, certainly, and getting the results, because obviously the racing at Silverstone's been difficult for me. Last year I got taken out in the fourth corner, and it was sitting in the hospitality watching an action-packed race. I want to be part of it. And I want to be doing Britain proud, really.
Hear, hear. Any more? Oh, there you are.
Hi, Paul. Do you beginning of the season, do you set yourself a target, like in your mind, what you've got to get so many points, a certain point of the year, or?
I think you've got to set a target better than the year before, and as long as you keep improving, that's one thing off the list getting ticked. But maximising what you can do and your ability is the main thing.
I guess you probably rethink any targets when you first drive it at Jerez, don't you?
You'll get an idea where it's going to go, yeah.
Yeah. Any more? Chap here in the hat, Dave.
Hi, Paul. If you could pick any 3 cars in Formula 1 history from 1950 to today to drive on a test day, which would they be and why?
Cool question.
It would be a Red Bull. It would so being part of what I've been part of Mercedes-Benz for so many years, going back to the Silver Arrow days, when you see them in the museum, they're all in a big oval. There's some special cars there. Picking one would be hard, but I would definitely say a Mercedes would have to be in there. My heart always says Ferrari. Having that Italian element to me, it's got to be there. And I think, to round it off, something British, maybe Ken Tyrrell, something he built, back in the days, they were very successful, and that was when I think really Formula One ramped up, and they got into the era of the generation that we're into now, and we're just an evolution of that.